Some men walk into a room and go completely unnoticed. Others don't even speak and they're already desired. Which one are you? Most people don't know this, but female desire isn't triggered by sweet words or promises of love. It's triggered by invisible signals, gestures, silences, looks, things no manual will ever teach you. Because these rules aren't written, they're felt. They're in the air, in the scent. Today, I'm going to reveal the 7 rules of female desire that almost no one dares to name. These aren't pretty quotes or polite advice. They're hidden codes. And once you learn them, you'll stop being the nice guy no one wants and become the forbidden desire they can't forget. The last rule, consider this a warning, might be the most uncomfortable, but also the most powerful. I'm Celia, and this is House of Wisdom. Stay with me until the end because after this video, you'll never look at her the same way again. You'll finally understand what she's not saying and why you're still invisible. Have you ever felt like you're talking, but nothing's really happening? Like she hears you, but she's not really listening. You tell her about your day, your plans, your emotions, and all you get is a okay? While she scrolls through her phone. You try to be clear, open, vulnerable, and without realizing it, you're digging your own emotional grave because the more you strip down with words, the less she desires you. What you call honesty. She feels as overexposure. And female desire doesn't come from what's explained, it comes from what's sensed. Which brings us to the first rule in this video, the masculine silence that disarms her. It's not her neck, nor her back. It's something far more symbolic. Listen carefully. The man who speaks without filter, without pause, without mystery becomes predictable. And predictability to the female mind is the opposite of desire. A woman desires what she can't fully control, what raises questions, what sparks mental images she can't confirm. When you hand her everything on an emotional silver platter, you satisfy her before she's even hungry. It's like giving her an expensive cologne before she's ever imagined how you smell. You lose the chance to be imagined, to be fantasized about, to be desired through absence. Because yes, there's a psychological truth almost no one teaches. What's named too much loses its symbolic power. And if you say everything, explain everything, justify everything, you empty yourself. Let me tell you about a scene I've seen countless times in session. He walks in crushed, says he gave it all, that he was honest, present, unconditional, that he opened his heart every day, that he shared his fears, his wounds, his doubts, that he was transparent, and she left, or worse, stayed, but stopped touching him. And when he asks why, all she says is, I don't know. I just don't feel the same attraction anymore. You know what happened? That emotional transparency without the grounding force of masculine containment became overload. Seduction was suffocated under the weight of too many words. I'm not saying you should become a wall. I'm saying you should learn to govern your language. Understand that silence isn't emptiness. It's suggestion. It's tension. It's the pause she needs to start imagining you. Because in the female psyche, the man who doesn't explain himself becomes a mystery. And mystery, my dear, is the oldest form of desire. If you can make a woman wonder what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're about to do, she no longer sees you as an open book. She sees you as a riddle she wants to solve. And that's where desire begins. Because desire isn't rational. It's projected, built from what can't be named but can definitely be felt. So look in the mirror and ask yourself, how many times did you speak when you should have stayed silent? How many times did you say I love you before she could even feel it? How many times did you explain your absence, your anger, your sadness, instead of letting her sense it in your eyes? Your posture, your presence. The man who masters his silence isn't cold. He's powerful. Because silence, when used well, doesn't push her away. It pulls her in. It doesn't hurt. It intrigues. It doesn't deny. It provokes. And if you learn how to use it, you'll see how that woman who used to ignore you starts to look at you differently because now you're not begging to be heard. You're allowing yourself to be desired. And that, my dear, changes the entire game. What you don't say makes her think, but what you look at makes her burn. If silence is the invisible strategy, the gaze is the direct strike. Now that you understand the power of masculine silence, it's time to talk about the second key point in this video. The gaze that doesn't ask. It claims a woman can resist words, she can doubt promises, she can question your intentions. But she can't escape a gaze that doesn't beg, doesn't plead, doesn't ask for permission, but asserts its presence with force. And I'm not talking about an aggressive or invasive look. I'm talking about that gaze that shows you know who you are, that you're not emotionally available to just anyone, that you're not seeking validation but recognition. A gaze that doesn't need decoration, that holds just long enough, that doesn't turn away out of discomfort, nor lingers out of desperation. That is the gaze of a man who has rebuilt himself from the ground up. And she can feel it. Deep psychology, the kind that isn't taught in classrooms, but revealed in real encounters between desire and fear, the exact spot where her guilt and her desire are hidden, knows that the gaze is the most direct channel to the unconscious. Jung said that what we don't make conscious appears as fate. And when a woman locks eyes with a grounded man, she doesn't understand what's happening. She just feels it. Feels something awaken inside her. Something primitive. Something ancestral that responds before she can think. And that, my dear, isn't triggered by a compliment or a clever line. It's triggered by the mastery of your visual presence. Why is it so powerful? Because a gaze is the one gesture you can't fully fake. You can force a smile, rehearse your words, mimic body language. But the eyes give away your emotional truth. If you're broken inside, if you're needy, if you're waiting to be approved, your gaze will speak before your mouth does. But if you're at peace, if you're not chasing, if you're sure of yourself, your gaze will shout that too without raising your voice, without moving your lips. Stoicism never talked about seduction, but it did talk about self-mastery, about presence, about inner calm. And in real seduction, that's pure gold. Because a woman doesn't desire the man trying to impress her. She desires the one who doesn't need to. The one who looks at her like he already knows he's the center. Not out of arrogance, out of certainty, out of experience. Because he's no longer in the phase of begging for attention. He's in the phase of offering an experience, but only if she's ready for it. Think about it. When was the last time you looked at a woman without anxiety, without expectation, without fear of being rejected? When was the last time your gaze said, I might want you, but I don't need you? That's the energy that sparks desire. Because deep down, she doesn't want a man who chases her. She wants one who watches her and can walk away if she doesn't light him up. And here's the trick for you, understand. The gaze that claims doesn't dominate. It reveals your inner axis. If you're grounded, your gaze holds. If you're broken, your gaze begs and she knows it. Because before you ever touch her with your hands, you've already touched her with your eyes. If that gaze shakes her, she's open. If it bores her, she's already closed. So stop looking for lines. Stop asking what to say, and start working on the one thing you can't rehearse, your gaze. Because once you master it, you don't need anything else. Your presence speaks. And when you speak without saying a word, she listens with her body. And that, my dear, is where true desire begins. You've already understood the power of silence. You felt the difference a well-placed gaze can make, but none of that matters if your body doesn't deliver what your eyes promised. Because it's one thing to be looked at and another to make her want to come closer. That's why we've reached the third point of this video, your physical presence as a primal trigger. This isn't about being the tallest, the youngest, or the most ripped. It's not an aesthetic contest. It's an energetic one. Physical presence isn't just appearance. It's body language, posture, breath, tone of voice, movement. It's everything your body communicates before you say a single word. And most men, especially after 40, forget this. They get stuck in routine, in fatigue, in neglect. They disconnect from their body, and with that, they lose their magnetism. A woman senses your body before she ever touches it. She feels it when you walk, when you sit down, when you lean against a wall and say nothing. If you're slouched, hunched over, shoulders down, chest caved in, what you're projecting is defeat, and defeat kills desire. But if you stand with strength, if your back speaks of direction, if your movements are slow but sure, if you breathe from your core like a man who isn't in a rush, then you project something far more powerful than beauty. You project command. And there's a simple but often forgotten psychological truth here. The body is the place she never touches, but secretly wishes someone else would the first frontier of desire. In primitive times, a man was desired because he could protect, hunt, endure. That memory still lives in the female unconscious. She might not know it, but her body does. And when she sees a man who is physically present, not perfect, not flashy, just present, her biology responds because that man gives her something no app, no line, no deep talk can replace. Instinctive safety. The sense that with him her world won't fall apart. Even if she doesn't say it, even if she doesn't understand it, she feels it. Picture a simple scene. You walk into a room. You don't speak. You just walk. Everyone's distracted until you move in a certain way. Not forceful, not theatrical, just firm. Your step doesn't hesitate. Your hands don't fidget. Your shoulders don't sag. You're not rushing. You're not tense. You're fully there. And without looking at anyone, they're already looking at you. That, my dear, is presence. And if you combine it with the silence and the gaze we talked about earlier, it becomes unstoppable. Now, before we move on to the fourth point, I want to ask you for something simple. If this video is opening your eyes, hit like and subscribe. But most importantly, drop a comment below telling me what country you're watching from. And write this sentence. She's going to look at me again because what's coming next is key. And the final rule will shake you more than all the others combined. Your body might say, I'm here. But if your energy says, do whatever you want with me, everything falls apart. Because seduction isn't just about presence, it's about scarcity. And that's the mistake most men make when trying to reignite a woman's desire. They make themselves too available. They think the solution is to give more, be there more, prove more. But what they don't realize is that the more emotionally present they are without direction, without selectivity, without standards, the more they devalue themselves. Which brings us to the fourth point of this video, emotional scarcity as a weapon of seduction. This is one of the most subtle and destructive traps for a man because it doesn't feel wrong at first. You think you're doing the right thing, that by always being there for her, replying in seconds, being her emotional safe haven, you're scoring points, but in reality, you're giving yourself away. You're offering yourself without filter. And in a woman's mind, what's given too easily isn't valued, isn't desired, isn't respected. Here's the mental trap. Because she once chose you, you think that to keep her interest, you have to keep increasing your effort, as if love were some kind of cumulative transaction. But desire doesn't work like that. Desire feeds on uncertainty, on contrast, on space. If you're always emotionally available, if she knows she can cry on your shoulder anytime, call you at any hour, unload her entire inner world on you without a single boundary, then you stop being a man and start being her therapist. And therapists don't spark desire. They soothe, they listen, they contain, but they don't ignite. Emotional scarcity isn't coldness, it's selectivity. It's understanding that your energy has value, that not everyone deserves full access to your inner world, that not every emotion needs to be shared, that you too can be silent. Disappear for a few hours. Set your own emotional rhythm, not one dictated by her needs. Because when a woman sees she can't access your emotional world so easily, she starts wanting in. She starts missing your gestures, anticipating your responses, imagining what you're thinking. And that, my dear, is when she starts to project, to fantasize, to desire, because her mind no longer has full control. Let me put it bluntly. If a woman feels you're always emotionally ready to hold her, even when she ignores you, uses you, or dims you, she won't respect you. And without respect, there is no desire. you can be the sweetest, where desire turns into emotional surrender, the most generous, the most unconditional man. It doesn't matter. If you don't set limits, if you don't treat your emotional energy as rare, valuable masculine, you'll be her support, not her lover, her shoulder to cry on, not the object of her desire. This is where stoicism becomes relevant. A man who governs himself emotionally doesn't deny his feelings. He refuses to be a slave to them, and he doesn't get manipulated by someone else's either. He doesn't melt at the sight of tears. He doesn't surrender to begging. He doesn't give himself away to be loved, because he knows true desire only begins when access has to be earned, not when it's guaranteed from day one. So ask yourself, how much are you worth emotionally? How many times have you been there, not because she wanted you, but because she needed you? How many times have you handed yourself over to a woman who no longer worked to deserve you? Scarcity isn't a tactic, it's dignity. It's reclaiming yourself as a man with direction, not an emotional tissue. And if you don't understand this, you'll keep being the man who comforts her while someone else turns her on. If you felt exposed, uncomfortable, like every word has hit a nerve, it's because you're starting to see yourself without filters, and that, as painful as it might, be, is the first real step toward change. But what comes next cuts even deeper because we've reached the fifth point of this video. Don't give her safety, give her vertigo. And if you don't understand that difference, you'll keep being the good guy that no one desires. This is where most men fall into the nice speech, into the logic of giving her security, into the modern myth that a woman needs peace, stability, and emotional support to fall in love. Yes, she needs all of that, but later, after she's already desired you, after her body has responded to your energy, after her mind has labeled you as a man, not a resource. Because if you offer safety before you create vertigo, you become an emotional piece of furniture, useful, comfortable, stable, but invisible. And this isn't about being emotionally unstable. It's not about playing games. It's about creating what no safety can replace. A sense of emotional danger, of possibility, of anticipation, of not knowing what's going to happen with you. That uncertainty isn't manipulation. It's momentum. It's magnetism. It's what makes a woman think about you when she lies in bed, when she's in the shower, when she's at work. Not because you gave her answers, but because you triggered an ancient code. The man who won't be tamed. The problem is, when a man has been hurt, abandoned, or betrayed, his instinct is to compensate with more safety. He promises loyalty, stability, presence. He thinks that's how he'll keep her. But a woman who no longer desires you isn't looking for safety. She's looking for something that shakes her out of her emotional numbness. And you, with your promises, your full availability, your emotional predictability, only push her deeper into it. You push her without meaning to someone else's arms. Not because you're a bad man, but because you no longer move her. Can you turn this around? Yes, but not from a place of need, not from strategy, from inner transformation. You need to stop acting to keep her and start acting to lead. Stop asking what you can do to make her like you. Start asking if you would respect yourself if you were her. Because a woman doesn't desire the man who stays out of fear of losing her. She desires the man who could walk away, but chooses not to. The man who, even while wanting her, doesn't betray himself just to please her. You need to break free from the childish idea that if you make her feel safe, she'll stay. No, she'll stay if she feels alive. If her body reacts, if the territory forgotten by her husband, and exploited by her lover mind spins when you speak. And that doesn't happen by being the nice guy. It happens by being unpredictable in your energy, grounded in your core but unstable in your stimulation, solid but not soft, present but not submissive. So ask yourself, are you the man who brings her peace or the one who makes her tremble? Are you the one who calms her day or the one who shakes her soul? Because if you're not that, if you're not the man who makes her feel that something unexpected could happen with you, you'll be the safe one, the nice one, the one she appreciates, but not the one she craves. And if that doesn't wake you up, nothing will. By now, you've already understood that being physically present isn't enough. If your energy doesn't create tension, desire won't survive. But that tension doesn't just come from your body, it also comes from absence. From the touch that doesn't happen, from the kiss you hold back, from the graze that stops just inches from her skin. That's why we've reached the sixth point of this video. Touch her less so she imagines you more. I want you to picture this. You're with her. Very close. So close you could kiss her. So close you could run your hand down her back, take her waist, slide your fingers along her neck. But you don't. You're just there, fully present, energy alive, breath steady, your body saying, I could, but not yet. And in that moment, her desire doesn't come from what's happening. It comes from what might happen. Because what hasn't happened yet is what plays over and over in her mind. And what plays in her mind is what excites her most. The mistake most men make is rushing the contact. They want to touch, kiss, move fast. They think the quicker they act, the faster they'll build connection. But it's the opposite. The more you anticipate, the less impact your gesture has because you don't allow the fire to build. You don't give space for tension. You don't let her imagine what it would feel like if you chose to touch her. And that, my dear, is where the most valuable part of desire gets lost. The waiting, the suspense, the possibility. Touching less isn't indifference. It's deep emotional strategy. It's letting her body be the one that asks, letting her gaze be the one that searches, letting her mind be the one that imagines what she can't quite name yet. Because a woman doesn't desire the man who touches her out of impulse. She desires the one who watches her, who holds back, who circles her without rushing because that man is in control. Now picture the other scenario, the one you've probably lived. The man who can't hold back, who jumps at the first sign, who touches without reading the moment, who caresses like he's begging, who kisses like he's pleading. What does that create? Saturation, predictability, silent rejection because she didn't get the chance to imagine. She had no space to desire. It's already happening and she didn't ask for it. And I'll say it bluntly. If a woman can't imagine you, she won't desire you. And if she doesn't desire you, she'll just tolerate you. And if she's only tolerating you, you've already lost. That's why next time you're with her, don't touch her too fast. Don't reach for her body like you're reaching for approval. Look at her. Breathe. Hold the energy. Make her wonder if you're going to do it. And when you finally do, let it feel inevitable, not predictable. Touching less doesn't mean doing less. It means doing just enough with an intensity that leaves a mark. Because what's rushed too quickly becomes routine. And you weren't made to be routine. You were made to be a memory, a craving, a fantasy. Even if she hasn't touched you yet. If you've understood everything up to this point, you already know that desire doesn't come from what you give, but from what you hold back. That it's not about touching more, but about making her imagine what you haven't given. But all of that falls apart if you don't know more than physical. It's a direct access to her feminine unconscious, how to read her code. Because a woman can look at you, smile at you, even kiss you, and still not desire you. Not because you're not enough, but because you didn't understand what she really wants. And that brings us to the seventh point of this video, mastering her hidden code. She's not going to tell you she wants a man who dominates her emotionally, who throws her off balance, who breaks her patterns. She'll tell you she wants someone sensitive, mature, someone she can talk to about everything. But that's the rational part of her speaking. That's what she says when she wants to sound proper. What she repeats so she doesn't have to admit what she really craves. Because deep down where it's raw and visceral, she wants a man who doesn't surrender to her, who doesn't explain himself, who isn't afraid of her, who even while desiring her could still walk away. You listened to what she said, but you never paid attention to what she chose. Because while you were opening up about your emotions, she was thinking about the one who never explained himself. While you were offering stability, she was remembering the one she couldn't control. And you know what's worse? If you don't get this, you'll become the man who does everything right. and still loses to the one who does nothing but speaks her hidden language. That code is everywhere. In her vague comments, in her mood swings, in her loaded silences. If you react, you've lost. If you explain yourself, you've lost. If you ask for emotional clarity, you're no longer her man. You've become her mirror. And a woman doesn't desire the one who reflects her chaos. She desires the one who walks through it without breaking. That's why the man who understands her language doesn't try to make sense of her with logic. He watches, he reads, he lets her speak, and acts on what she didn't say. This is where many men fall apart because they want everything to be direct, clear, explicit. But in the female mind, desire is symbolic. It doesn't grow from what's spoken, it grows from what's hidden. And if you can't read that, if you need her to spell everything out for you, you'll never be the one who lights her up. You'll only be the one who sticks around. So look at yourself. Think about everything you've heard in this video and ask yourself, are you going to keep being the logical man who gives everything away? Or are you ready to become the man she can't decode? You choose. But don't lie to yourself. Desire can't be negotiated, it has to be provoked. You either create it or you disappear. And if you don't understand her code, if you keep waiting for emotional clarity from someone who operates from the unconscious, you've already lost. Because real masculine power doesn't come from speaking louder, it comes from seeing deeper. And that, my dear, isn't something you're taught. It's something you wake up to. If you made it to the end of this video, you're not like most men, because most run when the truth gets uncomfortable. Most want quick fixes, soft comfort, easy answers. But you stayed. And whether you realize it or not, that alone is an act of rebellion. Because what you heard today wasn't motivation. It was a mirror, raw, unfiltered, a brutal reflection of why you've been ignored, dimmed, pushed aside, and how you can become the man she doesn't dare to forget. Today you heard the 7 rules of desire that almost no one has the courage to name. And now you have 2 paths. Keep doing what you've been doing, explaining yourself, giving yourself away, touching without being truly wanted. Or wake up. The one spot that, if you learn to touch, she won't want anyone else to ever touch again. Reclaim the mystery, the silence, the tension, the power. Not because you want to manipulate, but because you refuse to be manipulated any longer. Because desire is never begged for. It's provoked. And if you don't choose to provoke it, you'll spend your life begging for something you could have created with nothing but your presence. I want you to drop 4 words in the comments. I own the game. And tell us what country you're watching from. Because this isn't just a channel, this is a home. The house of wisdom. A space for men who are done settling for being half-loved, who don't want to be approved, who want to be desired, respected, admired without betraying themselves to get it. I'm Celia, woman, psychologist, therapist. 20 years listening to the things women don't dare to tell their husbands. And I created this channel for men like you. Men who've been betrayed, tamed, emotionally broken, and who've decided to reclaim their strength. Subscribe now. Be part of this community that's not afraid to wake up. Share this video with that friend who's still begging for attention, who can't understand why she no longer wants him. Maybe this is exactly what he needs to hear, and don't leave just yet. Watch the 2 videos that are about to pop up on your screen. Choose the one that makes you the most uncomfortable, because right there in what you don't want to face is exactly what you most need to see.